I am stoked to have our boy Matty Mullins from Memphis May Fire on the live stream today. Matty, what's going on, man?
What's up, dude? Doing good, dude. Just home, just like everybody else.
Yeah, it's kind of the thing right now.
Yeah.
So I discovered Memphis May Fire back in like 2008 on the Across the Nation tour. The band had a completely different look, had a big Southern rock vibe. How did you link up with these guys?
So I actually wasn't even familiar with the band. I was living in Spokane, Washington, is where I grew up. And I had some friends that were in bands that were traveling. And I had a band that was based in Spokane. They came back from doing everything that they did. And they're like, hey, man, we met these guys. They're in a band called Memphis May Fire. They're currently doing an audition for a vocalist over MySpace. And you should really look into it because this could be a big thing for you, you know. And the idea of like joining a band from Texas and everything seems so far-fetched, but I decided to go through with the audition anyways, which was it was an instrumental that was already finished for their new record that didn't have any vocals on it, and they just wanted different vocalists to write to it and record what they had written. And so I did that, and they had already gone through a bunch, but for whatever reason, Kellen felt pretty strong about mine, and I flew down to Dallas and we jammed in his dad's living room, and the rest is history, man. They were happy to bring me on, and I was just so thrilled to be there. So 2 weeks later, my wife and I packed up everything we had and moved to Dallas.
Yeah, that's got to be a big kind of risk right there to like move cross state. I had no idea you're from Spokane.
Yeah, that's where I'm from, and it was our first time ever even being in the South, let alone, you know, like moving to all the way to Texas. So it was a big culture shock, but it ended up being a great thing.
That humidity hit you in the face?
Yeah, dude, like crazy, bro. It's crazy humidity. I mean, Houston's a little bit worse, but Dallas definitely gets it bad for sure.
Where did you get your vocal style from? Like what bands influenced you in your youth to bring you to this point?
Well, I loved Blindside. Their singer, his real name isn't Christian, but that's like his American name. Christian is like so seamless at just intertwining singing and screaming, and I was always so fascinated by his ability to do both. And so I was definitely inspired by him and wanted to kind of mimic that and learn from that. But there was also a handful of bands from Spokane that never made it out that were awesome. You know, like we didn't get a ton of international shows, or I'm sorry, like nationwide shows in Spokane because it was a small city, you know. And so our local bands were what influenced me a lot. There's a band called Creta Scott. There's a band called They Open Fire. There's a band called Takeover, a band called Buddy Ruckus. You know, just like bands that I saw as I was growing up doing what I wanted to do and made me realize that maybe I could do it too. So yeah, big influence from them.
Sweet. I've seen you guys on Warped Tour a few times, and Warped is that really grueling tour where bands start to break down. It gets harder every day to perform. You always kept your vocals real killer on tour. That's difficult to do. How do you maintain keeping a good voice and vocal style the entire 3 months?
Dude, I really appreciate that. I mean, I think it just depends on what day you saw us. You know? I definitely had my days where, you know, the voice just goes away. But one thing about Warped Tour that makes it pretty easy is that you're only doing like a 30-minute set. So, you know, if you're out and doing a headliner, you're indoors where it's easier to catch a bug, like catch a virus. If you're around a lot of people sweating on each other and somebody gets everyone sick, being outdoors, that environment on Warped Tour, I think made it easier to stay healthy. But also just the shorter sets, like the less time I would spend singing and screaming, the easier it was to maintain my voice. We had 1 year on Warped where we did, I think it was like 23 shows straight. And that was ruthless. But other than that, you know, I felt like I got pretty lucky. I don't really have any like crazy tips or tricks other than just, you know, when you're not on stage, try not to talk a lot, you know, try to stay as quiet as possible. When you try to talk over a crowd or you try to talk over music, like loud music, that's the worst thing you can do for your voice. So just, you know, vocal rest and drinking a lot of water, trying to get an adequate amount of sleep. Those things are, you know, make a world of a difference.
I think that's one thing fans don't necessarily understand, that if you scream in a band, chances are you're never screaming off stage without a microphone. It's just a waste.
I mean, some guys can do it. Some guys just, you know, everyone's vocal cords are different. Everyone's body is different. It's like some people can just handle that craziness all the time. Chuck Reagan is like one of my favorite vocalists. And I mean, the dude has this incredible ability. Even just his talking voice is like so raspy. But he also can sing with so much crazy rasp, and it doesn't ever seem to really affect him. So it's like everyone's different, but I definitely have to be careful off stage to be able to do what I do on stage.
What song do you think that you get asked the most about, whether it be like the meaning behind it or the style of the song? What are people always asking you about out of your discography?
Probably like, you know, The Sinner or Legacy. Vices is a big one. You know, I think there's a lot of people that struggle with in addiction, whether it's alcohol or drug abuse or anything else. I mean, there's a wide variety of different things that you can be addicted to. And I think a lot of people have felt with that song that they could relate. And when you feel like you can relate to something, it makes you realize that you're not alone in that. And that's really the first step to healing, is realizing that whatever it is that you're struggling with, there's a lot of other people that struggle with it too. And so, you know, Vices, I think, has been a big one for people from all different walks of life.
Definitely a cool one. In the same ilk, what do you think has been your most ill-received or misunderstood song?
Man,
It's a tough one.
Of them, probably. I don't know. Yeah, it is a tough one. It just depends on the person, I guess. You know, like when we put out Unconditional, which was like our biggest first week ever and our biggest charting, like our highest charting placement of all time, I think people didn't fully realize everything that I was going through in my life at that point. And I had this like crippling anxiety and depression that was giving me thoughts of suicide. And I was on antidepressants and just trying to figure out why I felt the way that I felt, while also seeking out this newfound understanding of my relationship with God and what I wanted that to look like, or what I thought it looked like and what it actually looked like. And it was this crazy transformational period in my life. And when you've got a microphone in front of your face at all times, you know, you're like, well, this is what I'm dealing with right now. And you might not have the same beliefs. I'm not trying to push it down your throat by any means. But this is my life. And the only thing that I can do to write honest music is to be honest about what I'm going through or what I'm experiencing. And so that record in general was just like half about what it's like to have a panic attack and half about what it's like to feel like you're genuinely loved by the supernatural creator of the universe. And I think there's a lot of mixed emotions in there. And I think when somebody doesn't have the same beliefs as you, they feel like you're trying to push that on them if that's what you're talking about, when that's not the case at all. You know, for me, I just wanted to be honest. I just wanted to share my story genuinely. And I think a lot of people like hate Christianity and hate Christians. And you know what, dude, like rightfully so. A lot of people have done some awful things like in the name of God. And so I totally understand that. And I relate to that. So when I put that flavor in our music, I think it could be an immediate turnoff for some people. And I think that if they just knew me and knew my heart, they would understand more why I was so adamant about singing about those things. So yeah, man, I think that record was confusing for people. And that's just how it goes. You know, like I'm not going to be able to explain myself or my side of the story to everybody that hears our music. And so it just is what it is. But I'm still really proud of that record. I still really enjoy playing those songs.
There's only so much you can say in a 3.5 minute song when you're doing that. So you guys think that you had some kind of pushback from being so upfront about your faith?
A big pushback. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, not only just from people that listen to our music, but from other bands in the scene, you know, from music industry personnel, you know, that thought that I was making a big mistake. And I, to a certain extent, I knew that it would come with that. You know, I think that anytime that you share anything about your beliefs, whether it's Christianity or whether it's veganism, it doesn't really matter. It's like, there's always going to be some pushback for that. And I wasn't worried about it. More so, I just wanted our listeners, and still want our listeners to know that regardless of what you believe or whatever path you're on in life, like I love you and I respect you. And what I'm singing about is just my story. And I would hope that you could listen to it and just appreciate it for that.
It's a positive message. One of the things that I've felt about bands that are upfront about their faith, especially maybe like 10, 15 years ago, it seemed that being a Christian band was almost like people were using it as a gimmick, or if it was trendy to be a Christian band at one point. No band in particular, but do you feel that was the case, or maybe still is?
I don't think that these days, I don't think anybody is necessarily doing the Christian band thing as a gimmick. Because it's not received very well, you know what I mean? But like when Tooth and Nail Solid State was like on top, it was definitely a gimmick thing, dude. Absolutely. And I think a lot of the bands that were on that label that maybe don't claim those beliefs anymore, or don't claim the way that, aren't proud of the way that they claimed it or whatever, would be super honest about that. I think there's documentaries that talk about that as well. I think it was just a thing. It was a thing where, all of a sudden there was this like really angry, aggressive, energetic style of music with a positive message. And it's like, there's a wave of that. And a lot of people caught on. I think a lot of people were like, we're a Christian band too, even though it's not really what they stood for. And I get that, I think that happens with a lot of things. I think like, there's a lot of like SoundCloud mumble rappers right now that are going to be really embarrassed of what they did in 10 years. You know what I mean? But I think it was definitely a gimmick. And for us, for me, for myself, and what I claim and what I believe, just not these days, it's not a gimmick. It's, if anything, it's a big risk that I be open and honest about those things. So
I'm glad you brought up the Tooth and Nail Solid State, because that's like the exact era that I really felt this in. It seemed that if you claimed to be a Christian band, you almost got accepted more. And it's crazy how in 2020, it's kind of the reverse. Like people are trying to stray away from that, when most of the bands, the message is still positive. It's still the same. It's strange how times change.
Totally. It is, man. Yeah, absolutely. And it was a huge wave back then. It was a huge wave of that. And it's definitely not the case anymore. I'll continue to do what I do and continue to be proud of what I do, because I feel a personal conviction and personal, I feel, what's the best way I can put it? I feel like I have seen such an incredible positive change and transformation in my life through my relationship with God, that it would be ignorant for me to not share that, to hold it back, to not claim it. And so that's why I do. And it doesn't, I wouldn't say that it helps our band in any way, shape, or form. But also it's, we're not a Christian band, like I am a Christian in a band and I'll talk about my faith. But like Wikipedia says that we're a Christian band. Wikipedia also says that I'm the keyboardist of Memphis May Fire, by the way.
Oh, you don't play guitar anymore?
So it's tough, man. Like there's so much like misinformation on the internet and what people believe and whatever. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. But we've never claimed to be a Christian band. It wouldn't be fair, because not everyone in the band shares the same beliefs. We're very much a band that lives and exists in mainstream, and we have the message that we have, and that's it. So
misinformation on the internet is at an all-time high. I once read that your song Jezebel is about side stage floozies, so you can't ever really believe what's on the internet.
Dude, yeah. And I mean, honestly, like, that was a long time ago when all that drama happened 8 years ago or whatever it was. And people still attack me for it. And I get it, because it was stupid, dude. I mean, like, I was young and I was in a strange season in life. I had a microphone and I wanted to say things to get the crowd like really riled up. And then all of a sudden you take it too far and the world comes crashing down on you. And when you're that age and you've got so many eyes on you, I think it's really easy to make a mistake that can kind of haunt you for the rest of your life. And I learned a lot in that season. And I think I had a lot of opportunities to share my heart so that people could learn more about me. So in retrospect, I'm thankful for it, thankful for the growth that came from it and everything. But yeah, man, it's crazy growing up in the spotlight, like maturing in the spotlight, like learning things about yourself in the spotlight is a really crazy place to be in, for sure.
People don't understand how difficult it is when you have a microphone, you're on a stage, there's thousands of people listening to you, and you have to decide within a split second, is what I'm about to say politically correct? Am I going to offend people? Should I not say how I feel about this?
Totally. And to a certain extent, you have to like really dumb down what you're willing to say on stage, because there's so many different people in crowds. And it's like, well, what do people definitely want to hear? They definitely want to hear jump. They definitely want to hear, we love you guys. We're thankful for you guys. We're, you know, and all that stuff's true. It's not like people are just saying that for no reason. But like, if you have a personal stance on something, or if you like want to say something that's like borderline kind of crazy to like get the crowd riled up or whatever, you got to know that there's going to be, you know, something bad might happen. You know, people might be offended, and there might be a whole like group of people on the internet that like want to kill you. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's very strange, especially at a young age when you haven't experienced enough life yet to really understand how impactful your words are. You know, so.
I've heard you say it before. Do you still feel that you're the voice of a generation?
Oh my gosh, dude! No.
Is that maybe not the right thing to say?
No, it was the worst, dude. It's so funny. Like I saw a thing the other day, like somebody posted about that the other day too. So like I'm glad that you said that, because I've never that specific thing I've never really had the opportunity to clear up, I guess. Man, when I said that on stage, I said when I was in high school, my high school counselor told me, if you continue down this path where you're not doing well in school and all you care about is music, you're going to amount to anything in life. And my response to that on stage was, I said, ma'am, I'm going to be the voice of a generation. And what I meant by that was I want to be a voice for a generation. I want to speak to all these kids that are like me, that don't feel like anyone understands them, and their parents or their superiors at school or whatever it might be, don't agree with their lifestyle, don't think that they're on a path to anything other than destruction. I want to be a voice for them. I want them to see that if I can do it, they can do it. But when you say voice of a generation, like, you know what I mean? Like when it comes out that way, then like everybody thought I like actually believed that I was this like thing. And it was so cringy, and like, it just made me feel like I needed to be more careful about how quickly I say things, and think about things before I say them, because if somebody can take something that you say and twist it, they will, you know? So yeah, no, never did I ever feel like I was the voice of a generation. And I most certainly don't these days. So yeah.
I can understand both sides of that. I can hear that statement and understand where you're coming from, that you want to be the voice to a generation, but I can also see where the internet's going to run with it, try to paint you as a bad guy, and the stupid stuff that follows.
Totally, man. Yeah, absolutely. And I get it. I get it. Absolutely. But yeah, thankfully it's been 8 years and I haven't said it since. So
are you any sort of gamer? Like, do you play video games?
Dude, I don't. And the honest truth is like, I just, as a kid, I had a bunch of friends that were into it, and I was just really bad at it. You know, like I got pretty good at like Tony Hawk Pro Skater, at like 1080, Dave Mirra BMX, like kind of the extreme sports ones. But
I love Dave Mirra BMX. Such a good game.
It's awesome, dude. Yeah, it was a great game. Like me and my friends played that, and I had a ton of fun with that. But the more music became like the main thing in life, the more I just didn't find time to do anything like that anymore. And so no, I haven't. But like Jake, I would say, our drummer, he's the gamer in the band. Like he's the one that's like really good at like, you know, Call of Duty and like all those games. So yeah, we've always like, when we do take out buses on tours, they usually come with some sort of like gaming system or whatever, and he's the only one that really messes with it. But I will say, our merch guy, his name's Todd. He has one of those new Nintendos. It's like a Switch, right?
Switch, yeah.
And those have Mario Kart, and we sometimes will do like Mario Kart parties with that, and that's pretty awesome.
Super fun. Definitely a tour game.
Yeah.
How have you been staying busy during the pandemic? I saw you cooking some pretty awesome Wagyu steak tacos. Made me really hungry looking at it.
Yeah, dude, I've gotten super into barbecue. And that has been a big thing that I've been doing during quarantine. Like about a year ago, I guess, I got connected with this company called Traeger, who that, you know, it's a brand of like smokers, and, you know, like where, you know, you smoke meat or you can grill it on it. You can do whatever. But it just became like a creative outlet for me outside of music. Like, you know, like you've got these few items and you can make anything from them. And barbecue is, you know, we live in Nashville, so barbecue is a pretty big thing here.
It's a way of life.
Yeah, for sure. So I've just gotten into that recently, wanting to not only just like feed my family, like my wife and I, like things that we really enjoy, and also our friends, but just something that I can get better and better and better at that is not music, so that, you know, the more things I do outside of music like that, the more I love music. You know, like when I have other things to do where I can focus on something, create in something, I feel like then I go back to music, and music is this outlet again, rather than it just being like this constant, like, this is my only hobby, this is all I do. Like, you know what I mean? So
a little
yeah,
absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Totally, yeah, and it's been a really good thing. Memphis is writing a new record right now, and we're so happy with everything that we've done so far, and I think it'll be a really good thing, man. I've also just been doing like random projects around the house. That I'm in this room in my house that I call the studio. It's where I write and stuff like that, but it's not anything crazy special. And there's like a walk-in closet outside the door, and I'm going to turn that into a vocal booth. So I've just been like kind of figuring out ways to do that so that I can cut more like legit demo vocals here and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just a space I like to create in. And yeah, I went around and like WD-40'd like all the door hinges in the house the other day, like just finding stuff like that to do basically.
So a little home improvement around the house. That's a good way to pass the time.
Yeah, totally.
Do you have a favorite social media? Like, what timeline do you find yourself endlessly scrolling through?
I think Instagram is pretty much the only thing I really focus on these days. Like, I don't do a lot on Facebook or Twitter or anything like that. I'll open up Twitter like once a week and just kind of like look at the at mentions or whatever and respond to people. And but yeah, Instagram is like, I feel like all I have time for. Everyone is doing the TikTok thing right now, and so I feel like just to be current with like what's happening in the world, I feel like I should get that and figure it out and like learn it. But it's so hard for me to like want to learn a new platform like that. You know what I mean?
I feel like I'm 32 and I feel like I'm already too old for TikTok, but it's like you got to get on it if you want to like blow up your social media.
Totally. Yeah. And I'm 31. I'm right in that same boat, dude. So I don't know. I'll probably, now that we talked about it, I'll probably download it after this and try it out.
A lot of vocalists and bands, when they do a side project, they create a clothing line or they do jewelry or something else. You've got hair pomade. How did this come about? What is On Point Pomade?
Yeah, totally. Thanks, dude. So when I was on Warped Tour in 2013, maybe, I can't remember. It was a long time ago, but I had a buddy that like my whole life, I've been styling my hair and like, just like, I guess like men's grooming in general. Like I just have always wanted to like look and feel my best. And so men's grooming was always like a passion of mine. And I had always just used whatever I could find, like American Crew or like whatever you find at the grocery store. Essentially, I had a buddy that brought me some pomade from a company that was like more of an underground company, like that you could only find in certain barbershops throughout the country. And I loved it so much. I started researching all these different brands that I had never even heard of. And I was like, man, these are so much better than what you can find at like Walgreens or grocery store or whatever. And so I was like, man, I love the way that this one smells, or I love the way that this one holds, or I love the way that this one comes through, or I love the way that this one sets. And I was like, I want to make my own that is perfect for me. I want to make one that has like a really strong hold, but it's still water soluble, so it washes out easy. And I want it to have like a fresh cologne scent that's not overbearing. And so I told my buddy Jason about this idea, and he and I were both in Hawaii for a wedding. And he was like, I really want to help you bring that to life. And so we started working with a scientist in Oregon and just like developing this formula. We would go back and forth, and we did like 57 different versions where I was like, let's just make it hold a little more. Or let's make it, like a little less tacky, more so on the water soluble side and less like thick and blah, blah, blah. And we did that for a couple years. And then finally we had this formula that we were like really proud of. I was like, this is awesome. I'm using it every day. I love it. We should make it available to the public, because I think there's a lot of other people that would use this. And so we did. So we launched the brand On Point Pomade, and I think 2016, and a lot of people used it. A lot of people liked it, and now it's still a thing for me. It's still always happening that people all over the world use this stuff. And we've launched another product since called a matte pomade, and then a beard oil as well. And the response has just always been so rad. You know, it's crazy to like create something that you're like, all right, I love this. This is perfect for me, and then hear from other people that it's what they were looking for as well. And so yeah, it's very much a full thing for me, and I love doing it.
That's pretty sweet. Where can I buy some if I want to get it?
Onpointpomade.com. It's the only place that we sell through. We did do some retail for a while. We were in Zoomies and like Hot Topic and places, but I just realized that retail was not the right avenue for us because we're such a boutique brand. It's like we control everything from start to finish. And so we wanted, when our customers receive the product, we want it to be in our packaging, in our shipping boxes, in our bubble bags, like with our cards inside. And also one thing that's great about it is during quarantine, when people shouldn't be leaving the house, it's rad that since we're an online business, we still operate and people can get hair product, grooming products, whatever, direct to their door without having to go to the grocery store to get it. So it's been a really good thing, man. And I'm stoked about it still. 4 years later, still super stoked about it.
That's the wave of the future, buying things online. No one's going to be going to stores in like 10 years, I don't think.
I know, man. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, the internet shopping is everything.
A quick story I wanted to tell about how this interview came about. It's a story I kind of feel pretty stupid about. I was telling you how in the 2013 Warped Tour, I was doing press for this very website. I was in the press trailer. I wrote my name on the Memphis May Fire sheet. They call my name. I say here. And one way or the other, you and your TM walked out the door and the interview didn't happen. I ended up being really bitter about the thing and like holding a grudge. And it ended up causing me to miss out on some really good years of your and Memphis May Fire's music. And I should have gave you the benefit of the doubt. There's never been anything that suggested you were a jerk or someone that snubbed people. And I really took that the wrong way.
Dude, I was so excited. I know it sounds funny, but I was so excited that you tweeted that to me because I think there's so many times like that especially on tours like Warped Tour or any tour where a fan does something or a press person does something and they get a certain reaction from an artist and it makes them feel bad. And the artist in no way intended to do that. There are some artists out there that definitely are jerks. You know what I mean? And
oh yeah,
will do stuff like that. But like, I would never, ever, I love doing press. I love doing press because I feel lucky to have the opportunity to talk about music that I'm making. I feel lucky. And so I would never pass up an opportunity for an interview or walk out on one or anything like that. But I know you had said you felt like I even like looked at you and then still walked out of the room and everything. And so you had every right to feel upset. You had every right to feel like, man, that guy's a jerk because you didn't know and I didn't know. But you know, years later hearing that and then having the opportunity to tell you that that was not in no way the case. And then to be able to do this interview, I think is really awesome, man. The redemption in that's awesome.
I'm glad it came full circle. I also have a much better perspective on things. At the time when I was doing press, I was only attending Warped Tour. I had never been a part of it in any other capacity besides press or a fan. I was lucky enough to be a part of the entire 2016 Warped Tour, and I realized how grueling that tour can be. And mistakes happen. People are beaten down. It's really difficult to get through the tour. And so I can see it. I can see it all the way around now and how things like that happen. So definitely don't want to feel that way again or do that. I look at things a lot clearer now. I'm super stoked you were able to do this interview with me. Is there any last words, anything we should be checking out for Memphis May Fire?
Man, we're just excited to get back out on the road as soon as we possibly can when it's safe and healthy for our fans. And look out for new music. We're always working on new music, and we're about to sign a new record deal. And so you can definitely expect some new records coming in from us soon.